In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
This is the Scarlet Supporters Podcast. You can contact us on all the usual social media platforms, or you can email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Podcast with me, Lee G, and joining me as always is Big M and Hugh. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Evening, lads.
I'm good,
over
mate.
here.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, Martin's happy that I remembered his nickname this week. So, yeah, we'll have to get you a nickname, Hugh. We'll have to get you a catchy podcast name.
I've never really had one. Not even going through school. So you'll be the first. So
What, like a nickname? One. No nickname?
Yeah. No, never. Not really.
That's my time occupied for the next week, working out a nickname for you. So how's your week been this week, gentlemen? How's life?
How's life? Oh, it's always hard out with me. 5,000 kids. It's always the same. But
so you haven't increased the baby count over the last couple of weeks, have you?
No. The sterilisation has still worked, as far as we know. But it's failed a couple of times before, so less said about that the better, I think. But no, my 2-year-old, she shocked everyone the other day. We were just in a play centre. She came over, never spoken like anything before, like few babble words, and she just screams at us, "I need chicken!" And oh my God, it just broke us all down. I mean, she's just joined me by ear. It's brilliant, perfect timing. Well, Lee has officially abandoned us, and he's put himself on mute. So I guess we can't hear his missus screaming at him now.
No. Is it probably for the best? Anyway, shall I tell you how my week has been and kill a bit of time?
Yeah, let's go for it. Go on.
All right. So I play the bass in a band. It's just my dad's band. It's just a little folk thing that we do sometimes. And we got my dad got a gig booked for last Friday up in by where he lives. So I live in the Midlands. He lives up in the northwest. So I didn't really know what it was. So he sent me the list of songs. It was mostly songs we've done before. So I jump in the car, drive up. I get there, load into the venue, it's all normal. There's clearly a place where all the band's supposed to be set up, but I don't really know what the do is. So I'm like, okay, I'll just play the songs and see what's happening. It seems like a reasonably posh do. So I'm thinking, all right, I'll just go with it. So we set up and it all seems to be going okay. I notice everyone's going round with a glass of champagne. So I'm like, oh, it must be like a birthday or something. It must be someone's thing, right? So I have a wander through. I find the bar. So I'm like, oh, I'll have a glass, please. And he's like, yeah, no bother. Pours it for me. I gets it. And then I'm about to drink and he goes, that's £3, mate. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. Right. I thought it would be a free bar, but okay. So I'm like, I hold up my card and he's like, that's cash only. I'm like, right. Okay. Well, I haven't got any cash on me, mate. And he's like, all right, just take it. You're playing in the band. Just take it. I'm like, okay, right. I'm sorry. I go and take it, sit down. We all sit down and there's a speech to begin the do with. The woman comes up at the front and goes, we're all here tonight in aid of charity, and every pound taken tonight will be going to charity. And I'm like, shit, I've just robbed a charity. I've just robbed a drink off a charity.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh God. Just like,
always knew you were a bit dodgy.
Yeah. No one told me. I didn't know what the gig was for. I just turned up, just play it. Yeah, typical bass player. We'll just do what the guitar player tells me to do.
Do you get your old man to pay you for you?
Yeah.
I bet that was an awkward conversation. Look, I've just stolen this drink from the bar. Would you mind going back and paying for me?
Yeah. And I was like, Dad, you got any cash? No, my dad actually just went, hey, did you not get me one?
Oh, oh, the cheek.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so that was my week. So then, mate, shall we have a bit of a chin wag about the rugby while we wait for Lee to come back?
I've got this one terrorising me a set. Well, you could see the vocabulary coming off of that one then. So for her to come out and just decide she wants chicken, it made me laugh. It made me really happy.
Oh, why did she want chicken? What kind of chicken did she want?
I don't know. We just got like fried chicken from the nearest place, like, and she was like so happy with the chips. So you can't win. Just put it in front of her, and she's like, "I'll have the chips, please. I don't want the chicken." Like, Jesus Christ, it's absolutely brilliant. Some of the things they come out with.
Yeah, I don't have kids, but I'm told, people tell me that there's a nightmare getting kids to eat anything. So
depends
do you
on.
not find that?
No, not at all. But I mean, we had a stage with our oldest. She's 14 now, where school's fault. She's not like me on the message. She's an absolute twig, and I mean, she is unbelievably skinny. And when she was like 6 or 7, they took her BMI in school and told her she was overweight. And
they measured that right.
And oh my God, like she wouldn't even eat a Freddo. And it was a few years battling that. But outside of that, all our other kids they eat what we put in front of them, what they starve basically, and they've learned that. Like there was a time where I would pander and I'd okay, we'll do something else or whatever. But nah, it's just as soon as you get to 3 kids, it's like you just can't be doing that, and it's no good for them anyway.
Yeah. None of them go veggie because my girlfriend's a veggie, so I cooked spag bowl last night. I had to cook 2, meat 1, veggie 1.
Oh, that's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not so bad. I could, if I wanted to, I could eat a veggie one. It wouldn't kill me, would it? But
it might. You never know.
Yeah, it might. Yeah.
You still got your appendix? I think you might need that. You want to go veggie?
I have still got my appendix. Yeah, I've been quite lucky with that kind of thing. Although I am asthmatic, so I suppose that's my trade-off.
Oh well, so I think the first port of call, on the script from Lee, even though, like I said, he has abandoned us, is the Farrell incident. So I know you said you've already taken a slight take on this on a different pod, but I want to hear the unabridged version.
The unfiltered version. I know that, judging by Lee's Twitter, he had a pretty strong view on it, given he's been tweeting about it every 10 minutes ever since. So maybe we're lucky he's not here. But no, my view, when it happened in real life, by real life I mean like live in the game before they showed the replays, I was like, check that, because obviously you watch as much rugby as we do. You get, especially at the Scarlets, how many bleed red cards for high shots have we had? So I thought that looked like a high shot to me. I wouldn't be surprised if the TMO comes back on that one. And obviously they did. When they showed the first replay, I completely lost my head. I was up on my feet swearing, "You cheating!" Like giving it both barrels. I was like, "Get him off! Get him off!" Like, kind of shocked myself. I had to apologize to the girlfriend afterwards. I was like, I'm sorry, I lost my head there. And she was looking at me like, giving me the evils. Like, you'll scare the neighbors. So yeah, so I was, because it's pent up, wasn't it? You'd say it's been coming, but it's happened before as well. And, this was officially his first red card at international level, even though I think we could all sit around and name probably 2 other red cards he should have had. And it's just like, it wasn't like a one-off incident. You can say about a lot of players, it's a one-off. He's not that type of player or anything. It's not like that this time. This is a repeated thing. This should have been his second ban this year for a high shot. But obviously, mate, no, turns out it wasn't even a red card, because it was all Jamie George's fault for pushing Zane Basham into his shoulder. But Jamie George doesn't get a sanction either. So, I don't know. What about you, mate? The question for you was, all the debate that I'd seen was about how long will the ban be, not whether it was a red. So how long did it take for you to process that the red had been rescinded?
I'm still processing it. I don't understand it. I really can't wrap my head around. I thought he was going to get 3 weeks. The entry point would have been 6th. And I thought they would have gone, oh, he'll apologise, he'll do this, he'll get his 3-week ban, and he'll just miss the first game of the World Cup, and he'll be fine for the rest. But for them to completely overturn it is an absolute joke, and just shows how corrupt rugby is. I don't want to stereotype, but any Irish player or, Owen Farrell, a high-profile English player, how often do they get proper bans? It just doesn't seem to happen, and they don't get cited a lot either. Especially, when you compare them to any other countries' players. Even going Wales, Scotland, France, Italy, the rate of players getting cited and entry point bans are a lot higher in every country outside of Ireland, and England's high profile. I mean, I don't understand how they can claim that Jamie George did that. I mean, you've got to find the mitigation in there, and they couldn't find the mitigation on the field. So they've done a bloody good job to find it, in the aftermath. I mean, even if he has, pushed him over, which maybe
he hasn't. If you watch it, Tane Basham is handing him off. If you actually watch it, it's a fend from Basham. It's not a push by George. George is struggling to. I think George maybe gets his fingertips to him.
There's no serious. There's no depth. There's nothing. I think the biggest drop in height is maybe an inch and a half, and that is nowhere near significant. And I've seen, all the English fans going looking at the video from behind. Oh, look, his ankle is on the grass. He's falling down. His height doesn't drop significantly, and they say, oh, look, he was rapping with his outside arm, but that's not the arm that he hit him with. He didn't even hit him with arm. He hit him with his shoulder. And if you look at from the infield view, you will see that he's tucked his arm to shoulder charge him. And for me, it doesn't matter, if anything, if there's a significant drop, if he's been moved over, you've gone to shoulder charge a player. That's enough for a ban in itself. It doesn't matter where you make contact.
Yeah. Well, they say, don't they, that in pressure situations, people's instinct takes over. And in that situation, England were already down to 13 by that point, and Wales start breaking up the pitch. I think Sanjay got an offload to Shunza, who then got it to Raphael. So I reckon Farrell's panicking. I reckon I think he knows the context of the game, because it was a World Cup warm-up, but it was a must-win for England. It was a huge game for Borthwick and the English players. So I think it's like I said, it's a pressure situation. The instinct has took over. Do you think players are coached to tackle like that in rugby union still?
I'd like to think they're not, but I can't see the evidence to say otherwise. It still happens too often for it not to be coached. I mean, it's less of a problem up here than it is less in the South Sea Islands, but it's still a big issue. I know, just look at our game and England now. They're lowering the community game for the sternum and below.
Yes, why? Absolutely.
So why is everyone other than the professionals being lowered? Surely your professionals are, they're your role models, they're your guides, they're the ones that should be adapting first. You're expecting these people who train once or twice a week to adapt within a couple of training sessions, but you're giving professional players who train 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes. You're giving them years to adapt. So where's the logic? Yeah. Where's the fairness in that? And there's the other side of it too. I honestly think there should be a lower limit to tackle as well, just because Stan Lydiate has done this for me over the years. When he goes for that chop, how low he can go sometimes. It's dangerous tackling people through the ankles. I do think there needs to be a lower limit as well, as though you shouldn't be tackling below the knees, because your shoulders hitting shins or ankles, you could eventually break or mess up ligaments and stuff. It's just not safe.
How safe can tackling ever really be, though? Because the argument is, the argument that we get, and Sean Edwards came out today in the Daily Mail in his column and said it's a contact sport and this is what it is. Is that something that you buy? Is it just the nature of rugby?
No, because you look at any decently trained, age grade team between under 10s all the way through to youth, and you'll see the tackling is fine. There's minimal injuries. I know this is a broad spectrum, and there will be black spots here and there. But you go watch a juniors game, and there's not any at all, I don't think. And you can ask most parents who've grown up with their children through it. You very rarely see really bad high shots or repeat offenders. It's the way they're coached. It's 100% how they coach and how they do it day in, day out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it, isn't it? Because the law doesn't necessarily say you can't tackle high. It says you can't touch the head. So, it's my issue with rugby laws so much is that they're based on outcome rather than action. So, like, take the Freddie Stewart hit on Josh Adams, for example, which some people have said should be a red card as well. In terms of the rugby, like, frameworks for how they come to the decisions, I actually think a yellow card, based on the precedent we've had before, was correct in that the rule is that if he lands on his side, it's not a red. It's only if it's on his head, it's a head. But I think that law is stupid, because taking someone out in the air is one of the most dangerous things you can do. And it's absolutely not up to the player who commits the offence how the victim lands. So basically, if you put your arm out and cushion yourself, if you've been taken out in the air, you've saved the other guy being sent off, which is mad. It should be completely on, like, Stewart has seen Josh Adams jump into the air, carried on towards him and taken him out. It was a reckless and dangerous act. But the way that the laws are written is that that's not a red card. And it's kind of the same. I think Squidge Rugby did an analysis. Do you remember when Charlie Ewels got sent off in the first minute against Ireland? And it was a head-on-head. Squidge Rugby said, if you look at the sequence, every tackle, England made about 10 tackles in a row. Every single one of them, the tackling player was upright. So it's obviously been told to be upright. And it's just on the 10th one, it was head-on-head and it was a red card. So being upright in a tackle is legal. It's only touching the head that's illegal. So that's what makes it stupid. And obviously that's, to your point, what you're saying about the dichotomy of what the community game is, where you're not allowed to be upright. So obviously that's the thing for me is, based on the community game rules, rugby obviously knows what it should be doing, but it's choosing, there's obviously pressures inside the game not to.
Yeah, someone is saying we need to keep that sort of physicality there, or they don't think these players can adapt, which is stupid. Either way, it's a very stupid decision to make. And I'm 100% with you in regards to taking someone out in the air. And, Freddie Stewart, he had time to duck and get out of the way. It's not as though, he looked at where the ball was and then he just saw Adams peering out in the sky. He was like, oh my God, I'm too close, I can't do anything. He looked at Adams, he looked at the ball, looked at Adams, looked at the ball, and then the contact happened. You can see his head moving back and forth, assessing where he is. So for him to take him out is stupid. It's something we shouldn't be seeing, or at least not seeing as much as we are. And it's always the same thing with fullbacks and wingers. You always see someone get taken out in the air, even if it's just a little one.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming to today's news then. So Murray Kinsella has broken just in the last couple of hours on Twitter that World Rugby are considering appealing the committee ruling, which shocked me. I really thought, and I said it on the other pod, I thought rugby would close ranks, because I thought it wouldn't do for like those at the top of the game to be turning on each other. So I thought they would just go like, committee's made a decision. Hey, Lee's back. Hey.
No, I get you with that, and I'm really glad that they're not. I'm glad that someone up there has gone, whoa, how have you let that happen? This isn't okay. I mean, you can say it's similar to what happens in football. Like, I don't know if anyone watching this follows or you follow football, but Man United on Monday night, apparently there was basically a stone cold penalty for Wolves.
It was, yeah.
That wasn't given. And, literally within 15 minutes of the game ending, there'd already been like conversations from like the higher up saying they made the wrong decision. They're not, and those referees or the VAR, I can't remember which one it was, they're out of action for this weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why decisions like that can't be made in rugby. It's, an error has occurred. We'll apologise. We'll deal with it. And that's that. Yeah. You move on. It's human error. People make mistakes. You can't help that. What you can help is how you deal with it afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Like them being dropped, they've been Ben Whitehoused. They've been taken out of action. Yeah, I knew that would get a reaction from Lee. He's nodding away in the background. I've hoped you in there, Lee.
Yeah, I think sometimes you've just got to be honest with yourself as a professional, whatever it is. If you're a referee or a CMO or whatever, and just go, look, I got that wrong. But then there's sometimes where this stuff happens, and you're just kind of like, how can you get that wrong? So yeah, so I'm just catching up. I'm assuming we're talking about Farrell, are we?
We are. So I've just asked Martin the question. Are you surprised that World Rugby is appealing, or it looks like they're appealing? Because I thought they would close ranks. I thought they wouldn't turn on each other.
Yeah, well, I think they're taking a lot of learnings from what the WRU went through, where WRU decided that they were better than public opinion, and I think they got royally shown that they weren't. And I think World Rugby are now looking at this, and if you've seen the reaction to this, World Rugby are going, well, if we don't do something, the big showpiece in 4 weeks' time is in danger of being overshadowed already. So, yeah, referees make mistakes. For me, that card on Saturday wasn't a mistake. It was absolutely bang on the right decision, and the mistake is to overturn it. So, yeah, it is what it is. If you can afford to bring in a KC to your rugby tribunal, then I guess you're always going to get off. So anyway, have you done Farrell to death? Have I missed that bit where you've done Farrell to death?
Yeah, we've kind of killed her a little bit. We've gone beyond. We've discussed, tackle heights, community games. We've moved on to Stewart taking out Adams and everything involved with it. So it's been a very hefty, very deep 2 minutes conversation.
Cool. So let's talk about the game then. Hugh, what stats have you got from that game that are going to blow my socks off?
Well, from a Welsh point of view, there's not many stats to talk about because we barely had the ball. So I think, well, the possession stats aren't so bad, but I think the ball in play time was so low that we didn't really, there wasn't anything for any players to massively impress. I mean, Raphael got 19 tackles, Lydia got 18, which is high, I guess, but it's not like the headline grabbingly high. So to show you how much the ball was out of play, 17 lineouts Wales had the potential of winning. Obviously, we decided we didn't want to win them in this game, which is the only logical explanation for being that bad. So in terms of stats for Wales, Liam Williams was top for carries with 15. Next highest Welshman was Tommy Reffer with 9, and Tame Basham Madley with 9, according to Rugby Pass, even though he was on the pitch for about 10 minutes, it felt like.
I think
The one
he's in the record books for having the highest number of carries and the highest number of yards per minute on the pitch or something. I saw somebody saying that how many minutes he was on, how far he carried.
That's a very Opta stat. That's that sounds like something that Opta would put out.
Yeah.
I did see a stat that it appears to have been disproved, but I like it, so I'm going to pretend that it is true. Billy Vunipola, 11 carries, 1 meter made. Is apparently true. But yeah, apart from that, I think the only other stat which kind of told the story of the game from a Welsh point of view, apart from lineouts, was Thomas Williams got something like 40 passes. The next highest was Owen Williams, got 10, and then no other Welsh player got double figures in number of passes. So that kind of tells you what our game plan was, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. So, Mark, take us through what you went well for Wales and probably the biggest section, what didn't go well for Wales on Saturday.
I'll try to start on a positive. I'll try. I mean, there's not many positives out of that game. I thought there was a couple of decent, individual performances. Obviously Sanjay and Williams. Everyone knows he played really well. I thought Joe Roberts, he had a really good game. Especially considering the game plan we went in with. Felt, Revel had a good game as well. He showed up really well, and maybe Thomas Williams and Rhys Davis, had okay games, but everyone else was just, average would have been an achievement, and that really just sets the tone for what the game was actually like. I don't think they know how to play as a team, which is obviously a massive problem.
Mm.
And I think we're going to see it again this week just because of the selection that we've seen. It's just
so you say that, but the entire pack was basically an Ospreys pack. Obviously, Gaz thinks it's still 2008, and you could just pick an Ospreys pack. But you'd think they'd never played together before. They spent the whole of last season playing together. You'd think they'd never met each other. I couldn't believe it.
I know, it's absolutely stupid. I mean, 1 through to 6 from the same club for at least the last season. And it was as if they didn't know each other. It was as if they literally just turned up to the park on a Sunday and said, let's have a kick around. And the best forward of the lot wasn't even one of them. It was Revel. I would say Basham, but I don't think he was on the pitch long enough to really put in that category. I'll give him second. I will 100% give him second. But no, Revel, he did his job, and it was backwards for most of the game as usual.
Where did you think the line out and the set piece were the key bits that just didn't function? Where did the line out go wrong for you on Saturday, Mark?
Adam Beard.
Don't sit on the fence, say what you feel.
Honest to God, he was the caller. He eventually became captain, and no one knew what they were doing. I mean, obviously, we know Lake's, throwing in is iffy at best, but they didn't know who was jumping. They didn't know when they were meant to be jumping. And even when Parry came on and the first one went to hand, yay, maybe it's going to be sorted now. We got someone who can throw properly. And then just more and more the same. It's obviously mass miscommunication there. And as the line-out caller, Adam Beard, it falls on him. And I've never been a fan of his. I'll openly say, I'll talk to the guy myself. I'll say, look, I don't think you're a great rugby player. I really don't. I think you're quite lucky to be a professional. But you've done what you've done. You've got to where you are. I can't knock you for that. But honest to God, I don't understand how you're anywhere near this Welsh team. I really don't. Because there's just no evidence. If you can show me evidence to the contrary, I might change my mind. But I don't see you carry. Your tackles are passive. And the one area of the game that you're supposed to be good at, the line-out, you've basically messed the entire thing up for a whole game. there's no coming back from that. Not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so Hugh, anything to add on Martin's Adam Beard fan club application?
I don't have quite the same feelings on Adam Beard. I think I think he's got qualities, but I think unfortunately, sadly, he does. I agree that he has to take responsibility for the line-out debacle because of the things that Martin said. He was captain at the time. He is the line-out caller. He became the line-out caller while Alan Wynne was still in the side. And like I said, he was playing with all his Ospreys teammates. So if you could see them looking at each other going, what are we doing? What are we doing? And that, unfortunately, him and I think, sadly, again, because it's a player that I've got obviously a lot of fond memories of, but Dan Lydiate, unfortunately, I think, let himself down in the game as well. You would expect a player of that experience to step up and do something about it. Has Dan Lydiate captained Wales before? I think he has.
Yeah, I think he did. But I think when he captained Wales is when he got injured. I think he was on the pitch for like about 15 minutes as captain, and then he got injured, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. Might be different matches. But
still, he should be a leader in the team, and I think we'll come on to the team for this week later. I think he's in last chance saloon. Obviously Pivak brought him back. Gatland has kept him around. But yeah, the line out, I don't blame the hooker. I think it was a unit thing. Yeah, you could see they didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. I will give them one excuse, which is that I think Plumtree was supposed to be a big part of the line out, and he went off injured. And then obviously Beard got sin bins later in the second half, and then obviously Basham went off. So by the time they got to the end, when it was really bad, I think their line-out options they had on the pitch were Schunzer, Rhys Davis, Lydiate, and Raphael, and that was it. So I give them that sort of excuse. But Gatland made a point of it after the game. He said, "I made a point of this week making sure everybody knew their roles, and on the pitch you wouldn't believe it," and so he wasn't happy. So I think there will be players who are dropped off the back of that.
Yeah. See, for me, and I said this on a couple of podcasts last week, if your line-out isn't functioning, you need to have a backup option, whether that's forcing long kicks and then taking quick line-outs to your fullback or whatever, or running 2, 3, 4-man line-outs. You have to find a way of breaking up what the opposition do, because basically all England did was throw a big man up at the front every time, and we didn't have an answer for it. There wasn't a wind up and an underarm throw to the prop. There wasn't not a dummy throw, but a half throw and then a slower throw. There wasn't, when we do the huddle, we have a little huddle. The point of that huddle is that's where you make your call. That's where everybody understands. You send your hooker with the ball. So you come into the line out, 2, 3, up, gone. The opposition don't get the chance to understand what you're doing. And we didn't use any of those. We just went front ball, front ball, front ball. Oh, they're intercepting front ball. Oh, middle ball. Oh, bugger me, they intercepted it at the front. Oh, throw it over the top. And it just didn't, there wasn't that level of understanding of line out in there for me on that. And I thought there were positives in the game. I thought Joe Roberts, massive positive. Anyone that listens to me will know that George North is not an outside centre in defence. And Joe Roberts showed why. There were 3 attacks from England in our 22 that Joe Roberts killed because he got his defensive positioning right. There was one incident in the whole game where Joe Roberts didn't get his positioning right, where he attacked the fullback and the outside centre went in between him and the inside centre. But that was on the England 10-yard line, where you can take those chances up there. So, for me, defensively, he was rock solid. And then he tried a couple of times. If you look early in the game, there's a couple of times where he stands up a prop and he goes around the prop, but the gap's filled by centre or whatever. when he was just in that straight situation, he had two centres in front of him, two of the fastest players in the English team, two centres, a step. He splits the two centres, and it's an inside ball for Thomas Williams for a fantastic try. So, yeah, I don't know how much more Gatland wants to see from him, but for me, that books your seat on the plane, because there isn't anybody else that's doing that for Wales. You know.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. But he turned a 3-on-3 into a 2-on-1. It was brilliant stuff. And people say, "Oh, his biggest pass." Bigger was just passing the ball on. He didn't know what was going on. He was just moving the ball so he didn't get hit and held back. You know, Roberts is the one. He saw the space. He showed the pace that we Scarlets know he's got. He showed that he has got that winger's pace. Boy, did he put it to good use.
So, you know, that was last week's game. This week, a very, very different challenge against South Africa. We won't discuss the South African selection, because we're just going to go with it's absolutely massive. Hugh, what can we expect from the side that South Africa have chosen this week?
Well, blame Harley, because Harley messaged me in the week and said the Boks won't risk. The Boks will play. He was saying they're going to play a proper hooker because they won't want to risk both hookers, and they won't risk Lebok because they're only 10 and things. So cheers, Harley. That did set us up lovely there, boys. It's going to be proper rugby from the Boks. The funny, you might catch them a little bit cold. So they've got Jaden Hendricks at 9, who is probably maybe their fourth choice 9, according to some people. If you think Faf, probably Grant Williams, if when he's not got his head taken off by Argentinians, probably would be at least ahead of him. And they got Lebok and Leroux playing together. Now, I love Manie Lebok. I think he's going to be a superstar of rugby, but he's not really played with Leroux that much, and Leroux likes to kind of take over. So Pollard, I don't want to call him a standing 10 because it's a bit disrespectful, but Pollard wasn't a runner, whereas Lebok is a runner. So I think that the Boks are going to have some figuring out to do. They've obviously got Lucanio Am is out. I'm just hang on, my phone's obstructing the rest of the team. So they've got Dialendi at 12, but they've got Cheslin Colby, and they've got Caelan Moody, who a lot of people are excited about on the wing as well. But Jesse Creel, who divides opinion in South Africa, a lot of people don't rate him. And he sometimes covers the wing as well. So you could say he's not had a ton of time at centre. So I think from a backline point of view, there's a chance that there's opportunities for Wales to exploit. Having said that, you know, they're with how unsettled they are, they're more settled than us. But I think from the pack, so Gatland's picked the same pack for Wales, barring injuries, as he picked for the first game against England, which I'm surprised. I thought Henry Thomas would come in. Kieran Azarati and Corey Domikowski, you're about to go to school. Like, good luck, lads. Rather you than me.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a tough one, isn't it? Particularly, I mean, they're not young kids, but it's a difficult one for them. So, Mark, take us through the Welsh side. What can we expect from the Welsh side this weekend?
What can we expect from this Welsh side? Well, I'll be honest, not very much from looking at the selection. It seems like, you know, the third time in a row we've got a bit of a mismatch. Same front row that played most of the first game against England and got battered. So, you know, I can't imagine that scrum going much better. You know, I don't get the fuss with Ben Carter. I can see there's potential there, but I don't think that he's ready for international rugby or a prolonged stint in international rugby. We all know what Will Rowlands can do. We know what Lydiate does, same as Jack Morgan and Wainwright. So, you know, there's not going to be much of the unknown coming from our pack, which is a little bit disappointing, considering, you know, we have got a couple of players we haven't seen. I know Teddy Williams is on the bench, but it probably would have been nice to get him in there just to have a proper look at him. Like, we always knew Rowlands was going to be playing this game because he needed it for his 25th cap, just so he was eligible. But,
exactly.
There's not really much in that pack. There's not much carrying out of anyone in the front five other than Rowlands, and he's a hit or miss with his carries as far as I'm concerned. Back row, more or less the same again. Dan Lydiate, when he does carry, he doesn't make much yardage. Jack Morgan and Aaron Wainwright are both good in space, but they're not overly effective in the tight. So going against South Africa, a side who are renowned for keeping things tight and liking to boss around, it seemed like a really strange decision to go with that pack. So I don't know what your guys' takes on the forwards are, but that's where I'm standing.
For me, there's a lot of players there that are in because we haven't seen them so far. Ben Carter, we haven't seen much of. I think he came on as sub against England first game. Kieran Hardy should have started the last game, was injured. So, Dan Biggar, we haven't really seen that much of. I know we know what Dan Biggar can offer, but can he still offer that when you've got someone like Costello that can offer a lot more?
I'm surprised Sam hasn't had another go, to be honest. Is that just because he's ahead of Owen Williams now? Is that decision made?
I think so. I think Owen Williams is kind of, he's played himself out of contention to a certain extent. I think he's a great club player. I still think he's better at 12 than he is at 10. But I don't think he's been able to. If you look at Williams and then you look at Costello and you look at who's made more of an impact on a game, you'd go Costello. So I'd say it's, Biggar and Costello are 1 and 2. And then we've still got Anscombe that we still haven't seen. So
I think Gatland will pick Anscombe even if he's able to get the right sticky tape, to be honest. But I agree. I think my point about Costello and Owen Williams is I think Owen Williams is where he is now. I think he's not going to get, I don't know how old he is, 31, 32 maybe. Whereas I think Costello is still on the up as a player. So I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, whereas I think Owen Williams probably has. But Sam's one of my favourite players anyway, so I'm always going to back him.
Well, the combination I am looking forward to, where I think we can match the box, is 12 and 13. Because neither of those boys are small. Williams and Grady, I think they're both 6'3", 16 stone.
Grady is 6'5", so I can tell you now. Hang on, if I find the right note. If I find the right doc, hang on, bear with, because I'm going to have to pay him royalties if I talk about him anymore. But I was talking to Harley again, and according to my research, Grady is the out-and-out biggest centre in the world.
Wow.
He is 196 centimetres, and 110 kilos. He's bigger, he's taller and heavier than Jamie Roberts.
Yeah. And that's the kind of guy that you want going up against the Springboks. Very much a case of horses for courses. But then defensively, if there's any weakness, he's going to find out. And I think that's where Johnny Williams really comes into his own this week, where he has to control that line. He has to be talking. He has to be, pulling the pendulum, and he has to be pushing up and pulling back and all of this stuff. It's a big, big game for Johnny Williams. Massive game for Johnny Williams. So every time he comes into a Welsh camp, he gets injured, and then he goes out, and then he has a couple of decent games, and everyone goes, "Why is he in the Welsh camp? Let's get him in the Welsh camp." And then he gets injured, and you're just like, "Come on, let's just have a couple of games without an injury, and let's show him what you can do." Because he can absolutely live with the South African centres. We've seen that in the URC, and Grady can as well. So, from that kind of thing, Cuthbert is in there again because we haven't seen him. But
I don't think Cuthbert's going. I think Cuthbert missed the 2 camps abroad. I think.
But so did
I
Johnny
think unless he does
Williams.
something, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be very surprised if Johnny goes as well. To be honest, because I think Llewellyn is nailed on, and I'll be shocked if Tompkins doesn't go.
No, I'd say if he turns in a decent one this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the plane, and that's what I think is a massive game for him. He's only got the one shot, and
I think interestingly, I think kind of how one player goes, it kind of affects other selections. Because say as you say, Johnny Williams does really well, then it doesn't really make any sense to me to pick Johnny Williams, but then not pick Costello or Roberts as well. Why would you not? Whereas if he's picking Llewellyn, he's got to pick Grady. So I think that combination, coaches think in terms of combinations. So I think it's going to have a sway in that sense.
So the other player that I was going to ask you about, Mart, is Kai Evans coming on off the bench. I mean, you're a renowned fullback expert. So, but apparently he's in there to cover 10 and 15 should the need arise. So what do you make of Kai Evans being on the bench?
All I can do is laugh. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I really don't. He's a young guy in terms of a professional player in Wales. He hasn't had a great deal of time, with the Ospreys, on the field. So it really does mystify how he's going to be covering 10 as well as 15. So I'm a little bit baffled. I'm actually quite surprised that Tom Rogers hasn't been given a crack at 15 this week. But, I didn't expect Kai Evans to get capped after seeing the squad for last week. I didn't expect him to get chucked in against the Boks. I really didn't. But so, it's shocked me. That's so that's a nice one. It's always good to get a shock every now and then.
But can you imagine, right? You imagine now he comes on with 25 minutes to go, yeah, and from that first scrum or line out, he's got the South African back row coming straight at him. So he's come on for bigger, and you go, right, here's the ball. The ball is going to come from a very dodgy line out or possibly a scrum that's going backwards. And then you've got 2 out of the 3 South African back row coming to break your legs. One of them's going to break your legs and one of them's going to break your ribs. Welcome to international rugby. I mean...
I haven't looked at the South African squad just because I don't want to see the state of what we're going to be facing. But I can imagine Khaleesi and Visa just charging him down, late in the game, and he's never experienced anything like that. And it's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be a frightening prospect because he's a professional rugby player. Nothing should be a frightening prospect, but it's not going to be nice for the guy.
So let's do a couple of predictions for this weekend then. So Hugh, score prediction for the weekend?
So the Springbok fans won't like me saying this, but Wales, South Africa has turned into a bit of a grudge match over recent years. The reason I say that is if I read you some of these results, right? So from going back a little bit, but 31-30, 12-6, 23-19, 24-22, 20-22, 16-19, 18-23, 32-29, 12-13. It's normally like 2 or 3 points. And so if we do get a Tonking, it would be an anomalous result based on history. Of course, I think the Boks squad is stronger than ours. I think we've got a mix of players in last chance saloon, players who haven't had a go, and players who are being played because he doesn't want to risk the players he really wants to pick. But I can see it being closer than people think. So I'm going to go 19-17 to the Boks.
God, if we're 1917 at any point in that game after the first 10 minutes, then yeah, I'll be shocked. Mart, what's your score prediction for the weekend?
As always, I'm going with my heart and what I would like to see rather than what I think I'll see. So I'm going to go for a very similar scoreline. I'm going to go 18-16 Wales.
So normally when we do score predictions, I'm the one that people go, seriously? That's though you're just having a laugh now, aren't you, Lee? Yeah, okay. So my prediction, I think Springboks are coming with a point to prove. I think this is their 23. They're now fighting for starting lineup kind of positions. It is a bit of a strange squad that they've chosen. 2 hookers, 4 scrum halves, but yeah, I just think the issues we've had with the lineout, scrum's been okay, but I think scrum's going to be a real big issue this weekend. So you go lineout's an issue, scrum's more than likely an issue. Where are the Springboks really strong? And they're strong at set pieces and rucks. So I think we're in for a bit of a torrid time over the weekend. Yeah, and I'm gonna break with it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be something like 30-15, something like that. I just think we're asking too much of too many inexperienced players to go up against, potentially a World Cup winning side. So yeah, that's 30-15 in favour of South Africa. I hope it's not. I hope it's a lot closer, but I don't know. I cannot see it for this weekend. So that's all the international stuff done and dusted. Okay, so before the URC season starts again, we will be starting with the local games, the community game, isn't it? That's the level of sport, community game. So this weekend, we missed this last weekend, but there are a load of friendlies happening as well. So I just wanted to use this to kind of explain to people how things are going to work through the season. So when we get to doing the community game stuff, we're going to split. So we'll record the Scarlet stuff or the Wales stuff, and we'll put that together as one pod. But then we'll do the West stuff like we did last year. But then we're also going to cover the East. We had a lot of requests last year to cover the East stuff as well. So we're still fighting about who's East and who's West, to be honest. Martin and Hugh were going to do the East, and they want all the best sides. And we all know that all the best sides are way out west. So it's going to be a bit of a bun fight for a couple of weeks. But
South Llandovery.
Yeah, where does Llandovery sit in East?
Oh, there I was.
Yeah,
don't even let him talk up to you about it. There I was.
I know that. I checked the map. I had a look on the county lines.
Yeah, but it doesn't work on county lines. It works on District G and District H or District whatever. Anyway, so
I got confused because I looked on the WRU website, and obviously they've split the Premiership into East and West. But I just had East in my head, so I'm looking in the East ones, and it's all teams in Newport, and I'm like, there are no East teams. I don't understand. But then I twigged that we're still West. We're just the East of the West.
The East of the West. So we're recording on, what day is it? Wednesday? Is it Wednesday night? Yeah, well, it's Wednesday night, isn't it?
Yeah, Wednesday.
So interesting fixture this evening, Llangennech against Llandovery. So Llangennech newly promoted to the the Championship West, and Llandovery still obviously in the Premiership. So that'll be an interesting game, just from an East of the West kind of setup.
Yeah, well, it should be into the second half right about now, if I'm right.
Yeah, I haven't checked Twitter to see where they are, but
hang on, I'll search Llandovery live tweet. We'll find out.
Llangennech are always good for tweeting.
So, game tomorrow. Llandovery seem to have a game tomorrow as well. So I'm assuming it'll be like a Llandovery development side tonight against Llangennech, and then
There we go. At half-time, it was 17-5 to Llangennech.
Llangennech. That's going to be Llandovery development side then, and their main side's going out tomorrow against Bridgend. So are any of these, as I scroll down this rather attractive page here, Mark, are there any sides in the East that I completely ignore? Because I'll be honest, I'm very West-centred. So
I'll be honest, mate. I'm looking at this through a cracked phone, and I can't see very well. There's nothing jumping out at me at the minute. I'm really staring hard. You know, I see Aberystwyth in there somewhere.
Yeah, Aberystwyth are playing a side called Sefton.
Furness, I can see Furness. There I was.
Yeah.
Larne as well.
Newcastle Emlyn, St Peters. It's a weird one, this, isn't it? Because none of it. Normally, when we do this, we've got it all set, and it's all kind of this. We've got to kind of go through it and pick it out. So,
Carmarthen East.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, bugger. Yeah, Carmarthen are East, aren't they? Yeah. I can't even try.
Carmarthen are playing Cambridge.
I've never heard that be described as East before.
Yeah, but they would, wouldn't they? Because we kind of said we were going to cut it off at St Clair's and Larne and Whitland, that kind of area. That's kind of between East and West. So Carmarthen would be East. And like you say, yeah, they're playing Cambridge, which is an interesting one. So Haverfordwest are away to Betters as well. Interesting thing from Haverfordwest. Haverfordwest have provided a prop for the Barbarians game against against Samoa on the weekend. So,
indeed.
Yeah, Scarlet's favourite, Rob Evans, who's now signed for Haverfordwest, is his home club, but is actually playing for the Barbarians against Samoa on Saturday. So, yeah, I think that's the first player from Haverfordwest who's been signed to Haverfordwest while they played for the Barbarians. So, interesting.
That's going to go right up next to his Grand Slam jersey, I think, on his wall. Grand Slam for Wales. Represented Haverfordwest with the Barbarians.
Yeah, because he'll have to have his blue and white socks, which will be really weird as well. Yeah. So, as we come down, so we've got Narberth and Cross Keys. So that'll be an interesting one because they were pretty closely matched last year, but I think Cross Keys are East, Championship East now, aren't they? So, yeah.
So the only one that I've got down as a maybe that we haven't mentioned is Ammanford.
Yeah, so they definitely be East. So where's Ammanford? Did we see Ammanford? Oh yeah, Ammanford and St Gennydd. Yeah, that's up there. Carmarthen Quins, Cambridge, we did that one. Now, these aren't one of our sides, but I just like the name, Dings Crusaders. No idea where they're from. No idea what they play like. I bet they got a really cool kit as well, with like stars and sparkly bits and hidden Barbies.
Made by Macron. Everyone's made by Macron.
Kidwelly Carmarthen Athletic will be an interesting game as well. Then we got Pembroke Tumble, Pembroke Quins, Fairwater.
Dings Crusaders have got a nice crest.
You've Googled them, haven't you?
I've Googled them. They look a bit. It looks a bit like Nice badge.
Where are they from?
I don't know. I'm looking for Shaftesbury Park. The venue is called, I think.
Right. So they're way up in England, aren't they?
They've got a link on their website for it, but you click it, it doesn't take you anywhere. They've got sponsors. We're discovering this together, guys. They got sponsors. They're sponsored by ACF Team Building and Events.
Have they got a cool kit though? Have they got a cool shit?
The shirt is blue and black with yellow detailing.
Not exciting then. So
I'm determined to find out where they're from now.
Well, you do that, and then we'll go. Whitland Nankeredig could be an interesting game as well, particularly the problems that Whitland had last season, and Nankeredig a bit of a role. Yeah, and I think that's it for.
Did you get in Hendy into Croyce?
Oh, did I miss that one now?
Bristol. They're from Bristol.
They're from Bristol, are they?
Yeah.
That was worth it, wouldn't it? I can't see Hendy into Croyce. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Hendy into Croyce. Yeah, so that's another one at the top there. So, yeah, there's a whole load of friendly matches on over the weekend. So, yeah, by all means, promote your friendly game on our Facebook page. Let people know what's going on, particularly with the Welsh game being played. So get your kickoff time on there as well, and whether or not you're showing the game in a bar after, because the whole point of what we're trying to do is to push people into local clubs, into community clubs, at the same time as we bring them to Parker Scarlets to watch a different level of rugby. You can do the two. You can go and watch Pembroke Dock Winds and Scarlets and enjoy watching both. So yeah. So next week we'll actually go through and have a bit of a chat before and work out who's playing and all of that kind of stuff. But there's plenty of stuff to be watching in your local game this weekend. So do get out and watch it, because sometimes you find that the pre-season game tends to be a little bit more open and fluid and a little bit more fun to watch. So yeah.
And Lee, I don't know how to say this.
Go on.
But I think there's an actual Pembrokeshire Cup game going on tonight.
Really?
I think Milford Haven and Abereyron are playing tonight.
Oh yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah. With all due respect, Pembrokeshire Cup is an absolute shambles at the minute. It really is. It used to be.
Be nice.
Yeah, I know, but it used to be such a big thing in everybody's calendar. It used to be massive. It used to be, everybody used to go to the final. It was huge, and then there was a fuss about Narberth and Whitland, because they were way up top and they were playing like Langham that had, and they were just winning it consistent. I think about 10 years, maybe longer. It was just those two in the final and nobody could get close. So I think things are different now. I think, there's a couple of other sides that can challenge, but those two are still a mile ahead. So they got removed from the cup, and then they put their second team in, and then there was issues with how many first team players are in the second team and all of this kind of stuff. And it just kind of lost its feeling within Pembrokeshire, and even now, playing the first round of the cup on the 16th of August because the rest of the season is so crowded and there's not enough time. And I can guarantee there'll still be the quarter-final will be played 2 weeks before, and the semi-final will be played a week before the final. It just, that's the way it goes at Pembroke.
Well, isn't the first round of the Pembrokeshire Cup the quarter-final?
Sometimes it is. There was a ridiculous situation first season, just before COVID, where Crymych had made the final without playing a single game. Everybody else, every time they went to play Crymych, they had to pull out, and then they couldn't play, so they had to forfeit games, and Crymych made the final without playing a single game. I'm sure it was Crymych. So, yeah, it needs a little bit of a rethink and a little bit more oomph behind it. I'd be all in favour of playing it at the end of the season, week after week, and you go, right, round one, quarter-final, semi-final, final, bang, 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 and everybody knows where they are then. But that's just me being crazy.
You could do it at the start of the season as a sort of, as a friendly warm-up, do it like a 7 system, where like, you know, you lose your first round, you go into the plate, you know, because there's not that many teams to keep it going for, you know, 3-4 weeks.
But if you did it like that, then you'd know you've got a definite thing, you know, that's round one. And if you get through round one, you're playing in the quarterfinals. If you get through the quarterfinals, you're playing in the semifinals. There's no ifs, buts, and maybes. But anyway, here we go. Right. So we will do this again next week, gents. We'll have plenty to discuss next week because we'll have a Welsh Rugby World Cup squad to discuss. There isn't much Scarlets news at the minute, so we'll stick with what we've got.
I have completely talked myself into believing that Wales's best backline is the Scarlets backline, by the way. I've completely thought, well, you've got to have Gareth Davis and you've got to have Sam Costello, so you might as well have Johnny Williams. And if you've got Johnny Williams, you've got to have Joe Roberts. And then why not have Tom Rogers on the wing? And then Sanjay and Lee Halfpenny, they're both Scarlets, really. So there you go. So it's 100% Scarlets backline. And then Tame Plumtree at 8, so you have 8 to 15, all Scarlets, and then it works. Just think about it, guys.
Well,
and then Jack Morgan, he was a Scarlet, really.
Yeah, we'll discuss that next week, mate, because that's Martin's starting point, mate. So, but we will discuss the squad selection. We'll discuss the South Africa game and any other points that come up in the meantime. So thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure. Genuinely has been. And we'll catch up. We'll do it all again next week. Enjoy your rugby until then, gents.
Cheers, guys.
Awesome stuff, Bert. Great talking to you both.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. Please subscribe and share as it really helps to grow the Scarlets family. You can contact us in all the usual social media platforms or on scarletspems@gmail.com. Join us again next week for more of the same, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.